Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be.
All right. So, all right. So we're gonna start with one of our topics today. Our first topic will be um what does what are societies or what are our opinions on what qualifies a man to call himself a man or to be a man these days. And that's our first topic that we will be talking about tonight. So, Mr. Amadou, since this is your field, let's begin with you. What do you think, or what do you say is one of the qualifications to be a man? One, first of all, traditionally, and now what do you feel it is um, a real qualification or the real responsibility of a man today compared to traditionally? And what is the comment? What is one thing that would never change when it comes to being a man too?
Um, tradition man and modern day man. Tradition man is what every woman wants, a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Tradition man is what all women desire. They go to their father or their brothers to ask for that woman. They talk to somebody. Traditionally, even if it's a culture wise, say if I want to marry, if I want to get myself involved with somebody from a different ethnic, I gotta see their culture wise. They might have a color dowry. That means you're giving an amount of money to show appreciation of their hard work. And they give you the baton, and that's their daughter, for her to be that bridge between these two families. And they will create their own bridge. Tradition is when a man go to work, he's happy to provide for his kids, he's happy to provide for his wife. He would take the pressure of the world, and he's happy when he lay down and see his family thriving. Traditionally, that type of man is what some of our mothers, their father was, or their grandfather was. That type of tradition man that will don't worry about having a big marriage, just having select friends and family. Traditionally, as a man, you provide, you protect, you preserve. At the end of the day, when you see your kids grow up to be a grown adult, when you see what you have duplicate in your children, and you see they duplicate in their own relationship, you feel like you are fully, fully day, you done your job. Well done. Now, modern day men, majority of them are raised by women. So some of them are emotionally unstable, but they emotionally not sound. But they're gonna get there, but they're in their mind because the image they didn't see no men in their family. They look at TV.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes watching some of them TV movies, them old time movies, you see some type of character you develop because you didn't see that much character as a man in the house. So you got Good Time, you got all these different Jefferson, you have all this good family-based show that creates some of this modern day man. Because there was in between, there was in TV, but it was not real life. So they have to bring that character in real life. Some of them fail, some of them try, some of them succeed. So when you have these two different individuals, now the woman now have to see, you know what? I've been watching TV, so I'm modern day woman. But then as a modern day woman, I still want to be respected as a tradition wife. I want to be married. I want to have kids. I want to develop all these different things. Hold on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a let it foundation like that, and we can just, before I finish your question, we can just have the end to it. But let's run with that. When you guys look at the modern day family, coming from a single family home, you watch a lot of TV. Those are the characters you develop.
Yeah.
Because there was no tradition man in the house to show forth a tradition responsibility. So if there was a tradition father's there, sometimes the daughter resented because she can't get her way. He had to identify, but some daughters, they respect their mama so bad, they fear their mother before they fear their father. They have that respect and honor what their mother went through. So by tradition, the man is in the house. The man is running things. Modern day, it's what we have right now. I'm going to leave everybody else. You guys go ahead and jump on it.
Okay. Yeah. That is, I completely agree with what you said. Definitely what I was thinking. Like for example, today, my last delivery, right? It was to a nice, beautiful home. The lady asked on the app to for me to meet her at the door because she needed to give me a pin. And I'm like, okay. So I meet her at the door, and the lady that opened the door, beautiful woman, literally, and she had a baby. She was carrying a baby. And now I don't know her situation, but to me, like the whole scene that was set up, the first thing that came on to me, this is like this is a traditional family. I'm not saying this is the way it is, but to me, it seemed like it was a traditional family. The woman was staying home. It didn't seem that the man was there. So it looked like on a Saturday he was working, and she was a staying-at-home mom, taking care of the baby, and he's at work. So she looked young too. So there seems to be, like you said, some women that are still looking for that traditional type of life, that traditional type of way of being taken care of by a man, being home just with the kids, and let the man do his thing to provide for men. That's traditional. But there are also a lot of women that want that, but men are not thinking that way anymore. Also, like as they growing up, the new men now understand that women are also going out there. They also working. So now the men that are coming out, they expecting the women to also provide or have some type of value other than just taking care of the house. And like monetary value, for example, I think because now you see a lot of women in business, you see a lot of women in high-paying jobs and high-paying careers. And now you're starting to see a lot of households also where both men and women work. So everything is becoming more equal. So, but there's still those women. Women are still being put in their heads, I think, like you said, by TV or something, that traditional life still should be that way, but they're not finding those men anymore. So now it's becoming a frustration between both men and women, and it's like, okay, I wanna be taking, the traditional type of women, like I want to be taken care of. They having a hard time. The the modern day women that are thinking, oh, I'm gonna go to work too, are also having a hard time because now they find relationships, but because she's working also and he's working also, the time that they spend together is a lot less. So it seems like they thinking about, instead of thinking about and looking within themselves to see if they really a match, they look to see if they really could be more like business partners to just come up with just put a family together and raise some kids while they work on their own thing. You know what I mean? And it's starting to seem that way. So then the man is like, okay, men are starting to now realize, starting to like question, okay, what is my role here now? Because she's taking care of herself. She's taking care of herself. She's making money. She's paying her side of the bills. I'm paying my side of the bills. So am I really needed now? So men start asking themselves, am I really needed? This woman, like, she's making her money. If she needs something fixed, what she got to do with the money that she's making? A lot of these women got high-paying careers. There's a lot of women now that are making more money than their men. So they like, a lot of these women they need something fixed. They don't need the man anymore. They need something fixed. When the man is doing outside there, maybe working, they just call somebody. Hey, I'm gonna call like somebody like Mr. Sewer. Hey, I'm gonna call this plumber. He could come here. I'm gonna give him like $200 and he'll fix this thing for me. Right? And because now the income is higher, but because they're both working, but at the same time, it's kind of like affecting the mentality of that traditional mentality. So modern man now is now, in my opinion, a lot different than the traditional man now, because now they feel like they don't have that responsibility now to having to take care of a whole family like men did before. Now they feel like, I'm going to be part of taking care of the whole family, but I'm not the one fully responsible to take care of the whole family. And now, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying what is switching to. So now those traditions are going away because in my opinion, because of that, there is no need to have them anymore because both men and women now work, creating different type of issues, but that's that's the way things are adapting, and that's how things are evolving now. Households are evolving in that direction, and men have been to evolve in that way. So it's just starting to it seems like the way things are going also, the role of a traditional man is starting to seem that it's switching to women. Women are taking some of those roles that traditional men had. So then the modern man is like, hey, I don't really have to do much. I just got to provide my part, help take care of the kids, and keep her happy on my side, on my part, and that's it. And I'm good. You know what I mean? When before, traditional man was, okay, all the responsibility is on me, all the pressure is on me. I got to make sure I get to a certain point so I could, take care of my family and take care of my wife. And before, at those times, women were also being taken care of by the men. So a lot of them would not leave because most of them had no places to go. That's why they came up with the laws like alimony and all this stuff, It's because of those traditional times. But those laws, I bet you they're gonna go away because they are no longer apply to the modern time. Because women are making money now on their own. Women are doing good. Women are engineers now, and they construction workers. I've seen a lot of women, man. There's construction all over the place here where I would live at, and most of them, like, there's a lot of women on those construction teams. You didn't see that before. A lot of women doing construction. I seen them a lot. When I was a mechanic for Honeywell, there's a lot of women now going into that. When the whole job market, the whole thing, the whole society thing, is changing, and that's why the traditional and the men are adapting. And it's been hard on some of the traditional men that still have the traditional mentality, is where they've been hit the hardest. For the new young kids that are growing up now, it's gonna be all right for them because they're gonna grow in the new environment. But the ones that still have that traditional mindset, it's really hard. Because now they have that mindset, hey, I gotta take care of my family, I gotta do what I gotta do. But hey, my family's already been taken care of, so shoot. And in your mind, it's like, yo, fuck, what am I? Am I need? What's my responsibility? Like, and okay, so that's my time. I'll pass it to Mr. Sue. I'm sorry, I could go off sometimes. You go ahead, Mr. Sue.
Oh, it's okay, Mr. Bell. I want to say you made some interesting points. Honestly, man, both of you guys, very well interesting points. Just picking back off you, sir, Mr. Bell, and also to piggyback off Mr. Shalon as well. Let's look at some pointers. There's some factors, there's some factors that we need to take in place. Today's housing market is at an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of living is high. Groceries is high. A carton of eggs is high. Gas is high.
Mm-hmm.
When you're facing insurance, cell phones. See, back in the day, our grandfathers didn't have cell phone bill. Think about this. Remember, factors. Our grandfathers didn't have a cell phone bill. Our grandfathers didn't have a cable bill.
Mm-hmm. True, very true.
You understand? I want you to understand the added cost that came into the household.
Yeah. So more stress.
This causes more stress because now these things has become a part of life, almost being a part of, like having a credit card. You got to have it every day, right? So in order to have access to things, a lot of times it's going to cost you a monthly subscription in today's society.
Pretty much
your insurance is a monthly subscription. Your mortgage you pay is a monthly subscription. Your rent that you pay is a monthly subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I saying? What's going to have to happen is for families to maintain in these days, the woman and the man is going to have to work together. Yes, what's going to happen is if you got to see, that leads me to my second factor when it comes to pairing up. When we talk about traditional man and the type of woman. First, you got to know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
The man has to know what type of woman he wants. The woman has to know what type of man she is looking for.
That's really a good point. Can I just say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, that's a really good point, because before both the man and the woman, before they decide to go, before they even start dating, they should have like a plan on what, like I was telling Mrs. Salon yesterday, step one, what is it the type of person I'm looking for? First, I have to have the right idea of what type of person is it that I'm willing to accept. Am I looking for traditional or am I looking for modern? And then, because then you'll be happier because now you are in the type of relationship that you really feel like you belong in, right? Because there's still going to be traditional men.
Well, I want you to understand this. If they do make that decision now, Mr. Redler, remember, whatever choice that is given, there must be a responsibility to uphold on both parties.
No, yeah.
Now, just like a contract, if you agree to the terms, that means both parties has to uphold their bargain. So what am I saying? If you know you're a traditional woman,
mm-hmm. Yep,
and you know you're looking for a, let's say, call it a traditional man, there's some factors. Here come another factor. Let's look back at some traditional woman traits. Now, you cannot say you want something if you're not willing to do your part.
Exactly.
See, that's what you call a fraudulent contract.
Exactly. Because if you decide to become a traditional woman, you got to understand what a traditional woman is before you have to be able to accept that. Because if you're looking for a traditional man, then that's what he's expecting. So if you say, you cannot be like, oh, I want a traditional man, but you be like acting like a modern woman. You can't do that.
No, that won't work.
Yeah.
See, now you, what is it called? See, now you're mixing what they call oil and water. Just don't mix.
Yeah, exactly. Water and oil. Hot oil and water do not mix.
It just don't mix.
You create fire.
see what you see what's happening today, that leads me to another factor. Let me bring up some more key points, and that's going to help people to identify some things moving forward. You cannot force a man. You see, problem is some women get into relationships trying to change a man. That right there is another disaster key point, because now if you know this person is not what you want, don't move forward and get mad if that person is not what you want them to be.
Exactly. Actually, that's a good rule to go by. If you feel like you need to change the man, then that's not the man for you, because that's it. That's right there. If you feel you need to change something, then that person has something that you don't want, then that's it. Move on to the third person.
Now that leads me to another key factor.
Yeah, I like this.
This is very important, because now you want to find out, right? Because understand that nothing is perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that becoming experienced, you know what I'm saying? Been married for a long time. I think this is something that most men and women need to understand. What preventative maintenance measures do you have in place if things decide to go wrong? You see, I think when people plan things, they always plan everything to go right and go perfect and go smooth. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem is that what if something goes wrong? Mm-hmm. Do people talk about that, or people just talking through excitement? I think here's the thing, you know, everybody, right? You should be joyful and should be excited, but when it comes to getting serious with your partner, your wife or your husband, I think some things need to be set in place. You got to be able to say, okay, we want to have some things set in place just in case something goes wrong. What are you willing to do? See, let's look at Job. You see, if you know, for most people who read the Bible, who actually looked at the Bible, or understand anything about the Bible, let's look at Job's story. We know Job was tested, right? We know Job went through a lot. God put Job through a lot of tests, but I want you to understand something. When Job's wife had to go work, when something happened to the man, and it was her time to work for a period of time until Job got himself together, she got upset. You see, when everything was going good, when everything was going fine, everybody was happy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was excited.
Yeah.
But now, when things start to
fall apart.
Or should I say, when I say, I ain't gonna say fall apart, I'm gonna say that sometimes a turbulence, a trial and tribulation come. Every relationship is gonna go through it.
Yeah,
no matter what. That's gonna determine the relationship right there with type of man and woman. See, Joe. So and you want to make sure that women, ladies, if you're gonna pick a man, what happens if that man loses his job?
Are you willing to allow him to work on himself and heal himself and heal on his side? Are you willing to stick by him during that time while he's working on himself and getting and doing what he has to do to become the right a new man? Are you willing to stand by him during those
now? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that someone who is not putting the effort, don't get that, no. Let's not mistake a man who's putting in the effort, who's doing the things to get, than a man who's not. I'm not talking about that. We focusing on the man who is out there, working.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I don't mean like, oh, there's some guy that just want to be couch all day. No, I don't mean that. I mean like a guy that was doing his thing, but everything just fell apart. Now he just hit rock bottom. But you could see that he's working on his spiritual side, he's working on his emotion, and he's working on making himself better to be either more, to improve himself. And you could see progress. Then are you willing to stand by that man while he does that?
I saw this morning. Good point, Mr. Brother. I saw something, guys. I'm gonna share with you real quick. Believe it was, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, maybe this morning. It was a man. I saw, I don't know if it was on Facebook or Instagram, one of these, maybe a short, maybe a YouTube short, but it was a gentleman who was complaining about his wife. The man came home after working 16 hours, and his wife is a stay-at-home woman. And the man went out there and worked 16 hours. He asked his wife, could she cook a meal for him? He said that's all he wanted. He was tired. And he said he wound up coming home after a 15, 16-hour day. Winding had to take her out and buy food. Now, I want you to understand something. If a woman is looking for a traditional man, then she has to go back and see what were the actions of the traditional woman.
Yeah, exactly. She needs to research that and study and see if she's willing to be one of those.
Because if she is not, then when you get that traditional man, what's more likely may happen, what a possibility could happen, God forbid, because you hope people can work things out and move past certain situations and put things under the bridge. But if things cannot be worked out, if things cannot be rectified at the core, what's going to happen is divorce papers.
Yeah.
sometimes, someone may catch an eye for what you mistreating. You see, all these things come into play, and then sometimes people get mad when they say, how can you do this? Well, how can you do that to me? Well, it's simple. Look back at what you was doing.
Yeah.
And again, let's say for the men, a traditional man honor his home. A traditional man brings home the bacon, whether it is little or big. You see, today, there are some men who's not tripping if their woman makes more, because they understand that this money comes into the home. And this money for our home is for us to build a house together. Mm-hmm. And the kids that we have under this roof, the finances that we bring into this home, is to help build us together, to pay our bills and to sustain, and to make sure that the kids that's coming under this roof is taken care of. Mm-hmm. Because today, we all understand, if you want a man, that's why some people just go for rich men. But let's keep it honest. Rich men ain't really marrying like that, because they already know people are coming for their bag. So you may get a prenup.
Exactly.
Because, and then some people get mad and upset, like, why would you put me a prenup? Because people already know your intentions when you come into relationship. It's a protection flow. It's a shield. Because just in case you come in with a deceiving plan, mm-hmm. I have a deceiver blocker.
And now, Mr. Stewart, if you didn't know, now it's actual, if you're financial advisors, it's now a financial advice to get a prenup. It's literally like a must.
Yeah, like, because it gets ugly.
Yeah, if you go to a financial advisor now, because the modern times, I told you, like I told you when I was talking, like that those rules from before, they don't work to the modern man now. They don't work in these times anymore. So now financial advisors are saying and are advising pretty much anybody who has any type of money, get a prenup. You have to. It only makes financial sense. Otherwise, you're not handling your finances right. You could lose your money. You could lose your assets. If you have any assets like passive income, anything, you could lose all of that mm-hmm. due to the wrong person.
Yeah, and that's either for the man or the woman now.
Yeah, the man.
Because it ain't just for the men. I mean, you got men doing that to women too. So it's to protect the woman too. So we just want to make sure we're not biased. So. Again, I say, like what Mr. Shalom was saying, protection, preserve, right? Protect, preserve. And what was the other P? Protect, preserve. Got the other one.
It's all right.
Provide, protect, and preserve.
Thank you. The triple P's. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right.
I think being a provider, we understand, is making sure that you could bring income into the household. Biggest key. Bringing home income into the household that can help sustain the household. Preserving, that part is key, because preserving takes vision. And to preserve something, you must have a vision. You must see it before you can build it. So the preserve part is more of a foresight type of thing. You see it before it happens, because it's like when you take peaches and you cut them up and you put them in a jar and you pour that syrup around and you tighten that jar with a seal. You're preserving something that naturally would have went bad if you didn't go through that process of preserving it. So when you look at your family, right? Look at the Game of Thrones. And I use this as a great example. I was talking to my wife yesterday, and I use this as a great example for those who are out there who know about the Game of Thrones. Even if you didn't watch it, just understand the meaning. They had a thing where houses, right? And houses mean your family. So back then, creating a house was like the greatest honor. And how do you create a house? You have children, and you make sure your children have children. You make sure your children have children. And you put that under one house, under your name. And just like we call it house railing. Now, at 80 years old, you now sit back and see your great grandkids. And you can say, I've created house railing. And now and back then, houses wasn't necessarily a thing. The biggest thing back then was land. Because now when you had land, you were able to put multiple children and grow them on that land. Nowadays, you want to take a kid's, huh?
It still is. Land is still one of the biggest things.
I mean, it still is, but nowadays we don't build on the same land. We tell our kids to go get a house to stay. I mean, because this is the times, right? Things are just different, okay? These are the times. You know, people live all over the world. But back then, people got land and they built on different parts of the land.
You know what? You know what you just made me think? Back then, I think people now confuse the actual meaning of house. Back then, house meant family. Wherever the family was, wherever your family is, that's the house.
That's the house.
Now when they think about house, they think about a property, a building, a structure, something that you just built with material things. Right?
It's your family.
Be like, where's your house? It's like, for example, when you say, I'm going to church, right? What is the church? Is it the building or is it the people?
People.
Exactly. Same thing when you say house. That's my house. Is it the family, your family, or is it the actual building or structure?
No, it's your family.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think people now in modern days confuse the two. So
that understanding, most people just don't, I guess when we look at things sometimes just for what it is, but not in the 3D aspect of things.
Yeah. Like that's also, when you say, if you want to build the actual physical thing, then the proper way to say is, I want to buy a property. I want to have, a structure, like a property. I want to buy myself property for me to live in, a living space, a living area, a property. I want to buy myself property. Because when you say, I want to buy a house, you implying you don't have a family. You already have a house. Like, why you need to buy a house? You already have one. You saying you're trying to buy a family? You can't buy a family unless there's kids for sale somewhere.
Yeah, the house means family. Yeah,
the house means
biggest
family.
thing. So but all in all, wrapping up, I just think that most of us a man must preserve, because I'm not sure if men are today thinking about raising their great grandkids. I don't know if they're thinking that far to say, hey, I understand that tomorrow's not promised. I understand that something weird could happen. I get that. At any given moment, anything can happen. That is truly understandable. But that doesn't mean that you don't have that time to preserve.
Quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip and I don't plan to visit. I'm gonna stay there till I feel like I'm winning. Oh, and this is just the beginning.